Hi folks, we'll get started in just a minute as I just started the stream, so let's give everybody a minute or two to join in. And for those of you that are on, can you hear me okay? Can you just send a quick message if you can hear me? Can you all hear me okay? Okay, thank you. And does the screen quality look better this week? Hopefully the image is a bit more crisp this week. Okay, great. Thanks everybody. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get started. So this is our little, hopefully weekly Watch Me Viz session. I've learned a lot from last week and actually was able to start this one on time and get the software working. So for this week's Makeover Monday, it's a pretty simple data set, just 2 columns and 5 rows about digital companies that are based in Scotland. So let's first go ahead and take a look at the original visualization. So over on the data.world page for Makeover Monday, we can see that there's just a really simple map. Scotland, there's Scotland, the state of the digital nation, and it looks like we just basically have a bunch of companies at different locations, or I'm sorry, different regions and the number of digital companies that are based in each of those regions. So I'm going to go ahead and go out to the data source and have a quick look at what is on the website. So they've gathered a huge amount of information on tech companies in Scotland. They'll continue as each company is categorized by a number of attributes: company size, sectors, focus skills, and images to be able to provide in-depth analysis of IT tech business in Scotland. Okay, so this infographic, let's see, I am on the, I believe this is not the right page. So, oh, here it is right here. Here's the map. And it looks like there's some other infographics down the bottom. Okay, but let's focus on this visualization first. Okay, I think the title's fine. Nothing particularly wrong. I'm not all that sure on the subtitle, the state of the digital nation. This doesn't really give me the state of the digital nation or the status of the digital nation. It just tells me where they're located. There's a color for each location. I guess that's there so you could follow each of the lines to the name that it belongs with. I guess that's okay. It's not terrible. None of them are overlapping, which is good. You then have the name of the area and the number of companies. Okay, very simple. So let's go ahead and go down to, let's make sure, I'm going to just double check the source article and make sure it's the same. Okay, same thing. Right. So here's the data set. We've got just the, oops, looks like my screen zoomed in weird there. We've got the region and the number of companies. So let me just go ahead and download that. And I'm going to go ahead and start Tableau and connect to the data source. And let's see what we have here. So let's see. So, okay, that's the wrong location. Okay, week 33. Okay, so we have the region and the number of companies, not really much to it. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the sheet. Oh, actually, let me rename the data source. So Scotland tech company locations. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is just make sure the data matches up. So the region and the number of companies, I'm just going to spot check it against the original. So, oops, let me go here. So we've got Aberdeenshire is 227, and maybe let's look at Glasgow with 498, Midlothian 603. Okay, all the data looks pretty good. So the first thing I'm going to do is I can't really map this data because these aren't, I don't believe these are regions in Scotland. So if I change the geographic role to a region, and let me clear the sheet and double click on region, I'm going to get an error message. So let me edit the locations and let me, okay, so this is not particularly helpful. Yeah, so this is not going to help me at all. So I'm going to just undo a couple of times. There we go. Okay, so there's 1,863 companies. That's good to know. And let's clear the sheet. So I'm going to start by just doing a simple bar chart because I think the bar chart is going to immediately be more effective than the other graph, so than the map. The location for me is not that important because if I look back at the map, I could see kind of the bigger ones are sort of all over the place. There's no particular focus. It's not like they're all in the south or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just start playing with this bar chart and see if we can get anything useful. So I'm just going to turn on my mark labels and maybe have those. I like them when they match the mark color. Okay, and there's 1,863 companies. So I wonder if I do this as, let me just duplicate this field and make it a percent of total. So 32, so this is, so those three companies, those three areas make up 71%. So that might be something worth looking at. Okay. Maybe I'll just throw this onto the, let me go back to all and put it on label. And I'm also going to put companies on label. So we should have two fields here. Let me format this one. Format. And let's make this a percentage to, let's see, probably 1 decimal. I'm doing 1 decimal because if I do 0 decimals, Borders will become 2% and Ayrshire will become 2%, and those are clearly not the same values. Okay, so if I were going to clean this up a bit, I'm not convinced yet this is what I'm going to use, but I'm going to just clean it up a bit. Okay, so there we go. So 603 companies, 32%. Let me do a quick bit of formatting. Now that I have the numbers on there, I don't really need the axis either, but I'm going to get rid of my 0 lines, get rid of my grid lines, get rid of my axis rulers, just clean the whole thing up. Okay, so we've got that now. And let's see, so maybe I put the top 3, so maybe I put those into a set. And now I instantly get the color, or I'm sorry, I did them in a group, and it puts them all in the same region. Right, okay, so that's fine, but I don't want that in the tooltip. Okay, so percent of total companies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually save this. So percent of total. Now in my tooltip, it looks a bit better. Okay, I'm going to maybe try some different colors. So I'm going to go to this to bring up my color legend. I'm going to try to pick the color from this website. So I'm going to just right click on the little line there and inspect it. And if I go here and I pick the line there, I can see the color is 114 F7C. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, so something like that, right? And so I could just maybe hide the field labels, and these 3 again, that makes up, oh, I need my percent of total only. So let me, what was that percentage again? So temporarily I'm going to move it back up here so I can add these 3 up. So that's 71%. Okay. So I could do something simple like over 70% of digital companies in Scotland are concentrated in 3 regions. All right, I'm not sure if this is what I'm going to use yet, but I'm going to get it ready. So I'm okay with that. So this is my bar chart. Right. Okay. So I know I saw some people doing rounded bar charts, so maybe I'll just quickly show you how to do that. So to do a round, I have to try to remember how to do it myself first, but let's do region and companies, and then I want to do the average of 0 and make these a combined axis. I'm going to make it a line, and my line is going to go on the measure names. Okay, so there we go. So I'm going to start my axis at 0. So fixed at 0, and then make it a automatic end. And then I'm just going to get rid of the title. Okay, so what I can do now is I can kind of do the same thing. So if I make these, let me make these a bit wider, and I'm going to sort these again by the field descending companies. Okay, there we go. So I want to make these nice and fat now. So now we can see the bars a bit, and I could maybe just go ahead and do the same kind of formatting it in here. So I need percent of total, and this should be compute using region. Is that right? No, that's wrong. So I need to have that. Okay, so let's edit this table calc. It's, yeah, okay, that's fine. So let's go back over here and put the percent of total on the label. And let's put the number of companies on the label. And then I'm just going to go over here, and I'm going to just copy what's in my labels. So right now I'm just trying to come up with a bunch of different ideas for how I might visualize this. And match mark color. Okay, I'm going to put that root group back onto there. Okay, so we've got, yeah, okay. So now the issue is I've got these fat circles. So if I reduce the size, how does it look? So I still got those those dots. How did I fix that before? I think if so I don't want to go from, I think it's because I have labels on there. Let me just turn my labels off. If I turn my labels off, they're nice and rounded. Let me try to put the labels. So label, let's go left, and then middle, and then allow overlap. What does that look like? Font. Oh, I see, because it's labeling both sides of the line. Okay, so let me get rid of those. So that looks okay. But I have 2 points on the view. That's why it's doing that. But if I make them bigger, I think it'll do the same thing if I put that on. Yeah, see, it's making them bigger. I don't know why that is. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that. But I do know, so I see the percent of total for each of these, so maybe I'll try a waffle chart and see what that looks like. So I'm going to create a new sheet. I need to create a different data source though, so I'm going to duplicate the data source. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that and delete that. Okay, and then on this secondary data source, I'm going to edit that, and I'm just going to call it waffle. And I want to bring in a second data source. I'm just going to search for it. So waffle chart. Template, I think that's the right one. Hope it is. Right, and then in Tableau 28.3. I don't want to use a relationship, so I'm just going to double click on the sheet and bring in my waffle. And it's going to break, so there's no common field to join on, so I'm just going to fake it. So I'm going to put the value of 1 into each of these. And that should work. So now for Aberdeenshire, let me just go it down. You'll see it goes from 1 to 10, and then so basically I have 100 rows for each of those. So let's see. So if I go region, and I just want to count the number of records, I have 100 for each one. That's good. That's what I want. Okay. So to build the waffle chart, my columns and my rows should be discrete, but I want them to, I'm sorry, they should be dimensions, but I want them to be continuous. So let's do, actually, I'll start with them as discrete. That makes it a bit easier. So column, row, I'm just going to stick region in the columns for now. And I'm going to make my mark type a circle. And now what I need to do is this percentage field is in decimals, so I need to do the percent of total companies. So let me see here. So region and then number of companies. So you can see this number of companies is all divided by or is multiplied by 100. So I want to do percent of companies. So I want to do that divided by 100. So that's going to get me back to that. And then I'm going to divide that by the total number of companies, which is going to be just a sum and then a mustachio and then sum of companies. Okay. I think it's going to be the average of, let's see, I've got something wrong here. Divided by 100. So let's try that. So syntax error you might be missing. Oh, divided by. Okay, so I got an error message here. What does it say? Expecting closing parentheses. So that goes with that. Oh, need a bracket there. Okay, so let me put this in the view and just see if we get the same numbers. Number format, percentage, 1 decimal. Okay, there we go. So let's go back to the beginning. So Midlothian should be 32.4. So Midlothian 32.4. Okay, good. All right, so I've got the numbers right, and now I want to color code these. So I want to say, I don't know, I'll just call it show. And I want the sum of companies, or sum of companies divided by 100 is greater than or equal to my percent of total companies. Let's start that, put that on color. And I did something wrong. I think this is backwards. So this should be, no, wait, that's wrong. I want to do percent of companies is greater than or equal to my percentage. And let's just do, I think I could just make that an average. Okay, now it's false as well. Okay, so let me see here. So percentage, let's make this an average. So the average is 1. That's not what I want. Let's see here. So I need to do, okay, let's try, what am I doing with my calculation here? So show. So this will say something like percent of companies, so this may be like 32.4 is greater than or equal to the, it should just be, maybe I'll just make it the attribute of the percentage. Nope. Sum. Apply. Nope. Min. You can see I'm just guessing now. Okay, so something is wrong here. So edit is less than or equal to. Let's try it that way. Okay, so I need to go back into my sheet here. So I'm going to start over. I'm going to put region, column, row. Okay, so now we've got that. I have my percentage on the text. I have my percent of companies on the text. So percent of companies. So that's 0.1%, is that right? No, so my numbers are wrong because what's the first one here? Aberdeenshire should be 12.2%. Okay, so my percent of companies is wrong. So let me just put in here the number of companies. Okay, so that's 220 Aberdeenshire. Aberdeenshire is 227, and then it should be 12.2%. Okay, so 227, that's good. And then, so if I take these off, and if I make this an average, what does it do? Okay, 227. Okay, so I could change this to be the, let me just try companies divided by, let's try that, sum of companies. Okay, so percent of companies 12.2. Right, okay, so let me put my rows and my columns back in here. But it's still splitting that out, percent of companies. So why don't I just make this fixed on region, and then like that. So it'll give me, and this needs to be the average companies divided by average. I'm struggling with this calculation if you can't tell. And I'm sure I'm doing something very wrong. Okay, so that's not right. These all should show 12.2. So percent of companies. So edit. Maybe I should first just get the total number of companies. Total companies. Should be like 1,300 or something like that. So let's do, let me just think through this. If I do fixed on region and then average companies. Let's see what that gives me. So this should be average companies. Okay, that's good. And then I want to total that up. So then I want to just do, I know there's got to be an easier way to do it. So 1863. Okay, so that's the number I want to divide by. So, and then let's do companies per region. And no, I don't need to do that. So now this should actually be the average of the companies divided by my total companies. This could be anything. Let's just do average. It's only returning one number, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, percent of companies. Okay, there we go. So now I'm getting all the right values. So let's take that off. Okay, so now I've got 12.2, and if I even put row on here, I'm still getting 12.2. Okay, perfect. Now I've got the calculations right. Okay, so it looks like, so let me do it this way, a bit easier to see. So Aberdeenshire is 12.2%, so I should see 12 dots. So let me actually do it here. So show, so that's not going to help me. So 12 dots, so we got 10 across and then 2 here. Okay, that's how I want it. So let's go ahead and make this one continuous and make this one continuous. That's going to just kind of flip the axes around. So now I've got my 12 at the bottom. And I'm going to move region to detail. And then I want to put these into like small multiples. So I'm going to go to, what's that application? It's text. text edit, and come on. Oh, here we go. So these are my trellis chart calculations. So let me copy these. So columns, actually I'll call it trellis columns. Make it easier to understand. And then this one's going to be trellis rows. Okay, both of these are going to be, oops. Both of these are going to be discrete. So let's put that in the columns, put that in the rows, and we want to compute this by region, and then compute by region. And now I've got each region in the view. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. So I can uncheck. Actually, I'm probably just going to get rid of my tooltip at the end anyway. So I can now hide the headers for both of these, and I'm going to sort my regions by, so sort descending field percent of companies. That's fine. Okay, good. Right. So now I'm not too far away. Let me check my axes here. So this one goes from 0 to 11. This one should also go from 0 to 11. Okay, good. Because I want it to be a nice little square when I'm done. All right, so now what I'm thinking is on one of these dots, I want to go ahead and put like the region, the percentage. So let's put, we could put region on text. And I can put, no, I don't want to do that. So I only want region to show up on the 5th dot. So let me just play around with something. So region label, I'm going to say if column equals 5 and row equals 5, then I want to show the region. So let's put that onto the label shelf, and I should see label. Okay, now it's putting them all in the same place, so I actually need to make that an attribute because I only want to return it one time for each row. So attribute, oh, and hit OK, region label. Okay, second week in a row you guys got to hear my doorbell. I'm not quite sure who it is, but okay, so that's that. Okay, so that works pretty well. So let me duplicate that. And then edit. So let's call this the, call this companies label. And then this is going to be companies. And then put that on text, and I should now see the right number of companies. Okay, perfect. So duplicate again, and come on. So this would be percent label, and I want this to be the companies, percent of companies. And that's going to break because these need to be aggregates. Okay. And then that. Let's hit OK. Oops. Edit. What is my error? Oh, I got an extra parentheses. And let me format this as a percentage, 1 decimal. Okay, so percent label. So let's put that on labels on. Okay, so now we've got all three. Let me double check the numbers. So 32.4 and 603. 32.4, 603. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just kind of start formatting these. So let's see. So I want to insert this. Let me center. I'll format the font later. Okay, so notice how I got these black lines everywhere. That's because I need to put that dash as a calculation as well. So I'm going to call it just like that. So if that's that, then I want to show. Okay, and put that onto the label. So instead of having this here, I'm going to move that, put it there. Okay, there we go. Right. Now I'm going to go ahead and start my dashboard. So let's say I do 1200 by, let's see, let's just start with 1200 by 800. I'm going to kill the phone version and float. And I start with a, let's see, do I need any containers? Probably not. So I'm going to just float this in and set it to 0, 0, 1200, 800. Okay, get rid of my color legend. I'm going to fix the colors later. So now I don't like how these aren't particularly square, so so I'm going to say how regional distribution of digital companies in Scotland. Okay, and then I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to add some padding. So let's do like 20. Okay. Now I don't like how these dots are how these sections aren't square. So let's see. So let me get rid of some formatting first. So let's get rid of the row and column dividers. And let's get rid of the grid lines and the zero lines. Okay, so now things are a bit better, but I don't like how, I like the spacing between these sections, but I don't like the spacing between these sections. So I'm going to increase the size of this axis. So if I go from -1 to 12, okay, now we've got a bit more spacing, and I'm going to make it now more narrow. So let's, oops, wrong one. Okay. And maybe make it 900. Okay, that's not, I still don't really like that. Okay, what do I need to do? I think I need to make it taller. Okay, now if I make the dots a bit bigger, it's probably way too tall. But let me make the dots bigger and see how it looks. Okay, that's, I might have gotten lucky there. Okay, so now the issue is I don't like these labels. So let me center and center those. And I still don't, what if I go, yeah, I don't like the way those are aligned. I think they need to be up a bit higher. So what I'm going to do then, well, first off, I'm going to kill my tooltip because I don't need any of that. Okay, so I'm going to actually create two parameters. So column location, I'm just going to make this an integer from 1 to 10. Put the step size of 1 because that's going to give me my columns going across. I'm going to duplicate that. I don't know how I'm going to have to play around with the size. That's why I'm doing this, like the location of the text. So row location. So let me show both of those. And what I'm going to do here is each of my labels, instead of using the number here, I'm going to actually use the parameter. So column, that keeps me from having to come into these, to all of these different calculations and change them each time. So where's my labels? So same thing here. So we're going to do column location, row location. It's a bit tedious, but it's better to do it now than have to update these 5 calculations each time. And then I think this is the last one. Okay, so now I can play around with these parameters and you should be able to see them move up. Okay, that's good. So what if I go to like 8 and then move them across to the middle, so let's say like 5. Okay, so that's kind of right in the middle. Okay, so now let me format these. So I'm going to make this one maybe, I don't know, 12 point, and then maybe make all of these maybe like, I don't know, 16 or something. Okay. Right, so now if I go to my dashboard, how does that look? Okay, it looks a bit better. They look shifted over to the left a bit, so what if I change my column location 1? Now they're both shifted over to the right a bit. Okay, wonderful. That's okay. I just have to be okay with it. Right, so I've got a bit too much width here between these two, so let me switch this back to 0 and 11. Okay, so that's better. And let me go ahead and hide the, oops. I'm going to hide the headers for both of these. And I'm going to go ahead and show the caption. The data source is, what is it? Company connecting. And then create. Okay, get that out of the way. All right, so maybe I center align this one. Now I don't really love the colors on this, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background color. Actually, I think the whole thing's a bit too big. So 11. Okay, let me try this. Make the circles smaller. Now they're all blurry. God, that's really annoying. Okay, that's a bit better. God, the colors are really blurry. That is terrible. All right, let me try making it just slightly wider. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see how blurry that is as well, but it's pretty terrible. Okay, so right, so let me shrink the font of this so it all fits on one row. Okay, that's fine. Now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background color of the sheet. So format, shading, and for the worksheet, I don't think I want to go that dark. Actually, let's change this to none, and then let's go to the dashboard format and pick a color. So that's a bit dark for me, so I'm going to probably pick something maybe a bit lighter. That's still don't like that. Let's try something a bit more pale. I think that's going to be too light. Maybe if I try. Okay, maybe I should just stick with the original color. Okay, so if I do that, then I think what I would do is make this white. And then make the, now I need to play around with the colors. here. So I think what I would do, okay, let me see here. I'm going to make this dark background just so I can play around with the colors. Okay, so for the, let's see, the 12%, so let's make that, actually let's try putting borders on all of them. Okay, or if I make them, yeah, I don't like that. So what if I make these like a light gray? Oops, wrong way around. I'm going to set the trues to a light gray. And then maybe I'll make the borders maybe darker. Oh, that's terrible. If I make it a black border, that's terrible too. So let's make the borders, make them white. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that's a bit better, but I think the circles in the middle need to be a different color. So let's change these. Let's see how that looks now. Okay, that's a bit better, but now the text looks terrible on the background. So let's see, how can I change the text color? So if I make it like a dark gray, what does it look like? Okay, so that doesn't work, so I need to undo. And let me change this back to none. Yeah, see, I don't like how the black text doesn't show, so I think I'm going to need to format my dashboard again. So dashboard format. Let's clear. It sets it back to a white dashboard, and let's reset this back to the black color. Okay. So I probably don't need the borders anymore, so let me get rid of those. And God, that looks really blurry to me. Okay, so now some of these, I think we could probably move the labels down one. So let me go back here. Row location, let's make it 7. Shrink it down 1. Okay, I think that's a bit better. And now I'm going to all right, so let's see. Okay, I think I am probably pretty happy with that. So I know that the gray in the background is really light, but I think I like how that makes the blue pop out. But let me switch this blue color back to the one from the original. Oops. So let's go back here. And so now it goes more with the theme. Maybe I do the same thing here. And then I could do the same thing on my label. And maybe what I'll do here is I'll make this one Tableau light and make these Tableau, let's make it semi-bold and see what it looks like. Oh, I like that. That looks pretty good. Okay. Let's see. How do I feel about the location? I'm going to move them down one more. And now look at it again. See, I think it looks good on these, but then these up here don't look so good, so I'm going to undo that. Okay. Right. think, does anybody else find these circles to be blurry? It's hard for me to to look at them, and maybe it's my eyesight or something, but it's a bit hard for me to let's see. They just look blurry to me. I don't know why, but they do. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do is I think I want to change these, the text on these to be uppercase. So I know I've done this before. So let me actually do region label. I could just wrap this whole thing in an upper. I think that'll work. Nope, it has to be on the UPP. Okay. Okay, so how's that look now? Yeah, I like that better. But now you can see I've got one cutoff here, so I need to make the dashboard wider so that doesn't get cut off. So if I make it 900 by 1,000, 2,000. So now I need to make my circles bigger. So you can see it's just constant game of going back and forth with all this stuff. So let's see how this looks. I can even go a bit bigger. Okay, there we go. I think that's pretty good. All right. I think I can probably also make the percentages a bit bigger. So I'm going to make all of these maybe 18. Let's see how that looks. Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah, I think that's probably about all. So I'm going to call this Bigger Money 2020 week 33. I'm going to get rid of these two sheets because I didn't use them. I'm going to get rid of this sheet, and then I'm going to get rid of my first data source because I'm not using that one, and I'm going to extract the data. Extract, and that's fine. Okay, so let's just look one more thing. What does it look like in full screen? Okay, I don't like how tall it is because it doesn't fit in one screen. So let me adjust that a bit. So if I make it 1,000 tall, that looks pretty good. So 1050. Okay. So I need to make it slightly more narrow, I think. So let's make it 850. Okay, I think I like that. All right, great. I think that's it for this week. Are there any questions? I can see the chat, so if any of you have any questions, that would be great. Okay, is the stream okay? Okay, the stream's bitrate is higher than recommended bitrate. Okay, so let me change this for a second. Settings, output. Okay. Right. Okay. So I think that's it. Any questions from anybody? Okay. All right. Well, if that's it for this week, I think maybe one last thing I'll do is I think I'm going to make the title a bit bigger, maybe center it. Bold. Let me make it maybe 24. Oops. That didn't work. Oh, wrong place. So that's 15, make it 18. And then maybe Tableau light. Okay, great. All right. Right, so question, why did I use fixed instead of total to find the total number of companies. Let's see. So in the total number of companies, I could have used total companies here. I wrote it like this initially because if I don't have region in the view, then actually the reason I did it like this is because I want to make sure I get the average number of companies, because every time that the number of companies is in here, it's getting repeated for all 100, all 10 rows and all 10 columns. So I'm just, from just simplicity in this case. Okay. Okay, so I guess that's it. Thank you everybody for joining. And don't forget to, I should probably save this. So save. And let's call Makeover Monday 2020, week 33, regional distribution of digital companies in Scotland. And save. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to export the image. So dashboard, export image, just so I have it later. So put that in my downloads and hide all sheets. Save again, and now I'm going to publish it up to Tableau Public. Come on. Okay, I'll publish it up to Tableau Public when I'm done here. So yeah, everybody, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining. And yeah, have a great week. Bye.